Hey guys, it's Q&A Tuesday. Let me jump to a cool question from John Shatton. Hope I got your name right, John. Thanks again, Roman. Your experience, expertise are invaluable. Thank you. Question, do you have a personal guideline for max value of a collection relative to net worth? Is it sort of like cash? I'm thinking 7%, but interested in your thoughts. Funny you should ask that. I actually asked myself a question numerous times, and not just when it comes to watches per se, but things that I would deem as expensive toys. I didn't really come up with a number, and the reason I didn't come up with a number is because I sat down and I thought about it and I said, you know what, it's really situational. It really depends on where you are in life, right? I'm a firm believer that when you get to a certain age in life, obviously I'm talking about closer to retirement age, you got to start thinking about spending your money rather than making more money, right? There's got to be sort of that cutoff where you say, okay, that's enough. I have enough of a cushion to be able to retire comfortably and live a particular lifestyle. It's something that I actually go over with my financial advisor. He literally asked me, hey, Roman, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live in? When do you want to retire? So that is very, very calculated. But to throw watches into the mix, or expensive goods or expensive toys, as I like to call them, that's a very difficult calculation to make. And the reason I said it's situational, it really depends on where you are in life. So for example, I have 3 children. These 3 kids I want to put through college. College is going to cost X, Y, Z. These kids are also going to be getting married at some point, I hope. There's a wedding, which is also can be a pretty heavy-duty expense, as you can imagine. A comfortable place to live. I recently bought what I feel is my last house, which is large enough to house my family. To put it in layman's terms, if my net worth is $100, but I know over the next X amount of years I have to lay out so much money for college, or maybe a new home, or perhaps buy one of my kids a car, and so on and so forth. Actually, right now, because my son is going to start driving in about 6 months. So I look at all those expenses and I sort of plan ahead. It's really based on the savings that I'm putting away. It's really based on everything that I've put away for the future, for the near future, I should say, is where I draw the line and I say to myself, you know what, this is a little bit of extra that's left over. Now I'm going to be able to splurge either on an expensive watch, piece of art, a rare bottle of wine, or whatever may float my boat, right? So it's very difficult to sit there and say, you know what, oh, I'm thinking 7% of my net worth should belong to watches. I don't think so, because you can't look at watches as part of your net worth. Theoretically, you can. There is a value behind every watch, but because it's such a volatile market and things can change overnight, you can go from hot to cold so quickly that all of a sudden your $50,000 investment becomes a $10,000 investment or a $20,000 investment, or better yet, it may still be worth the money you pay, but it's just not liquid. It's not gold. 2008, you know, if you wanted to get rid of a watch collection, it was impossible, and you got pennies on a dollar because the market was in the toilet, right? Not a question that can be answered. Do I think it's reasonable to have 7% of your net worth be watches? That depends on what your net worth is. If your net worth is $50,000, you have no business buying a $5,000 watch. If your net worth is $50 million, then you're getting into a point where you got 4 million in watches. Is that reasonable? No, it's not. It's also not very, very reasonable. So there's got to be a happy medium of where you are in life, I feel like, your age, what other major financial events are going to be taking place. If you're planning for retirement, I suggest you plan early and know exactly where you're going to be at the age you're looking to retire. Let's say if you're looking to retire at the age of 65 and you want to live a $100,000 lifestyle a month without any income coming in, then you got to plan for that as well. Otherwise, you're going to end up selling some of those watches. So I hope that kind of makes sense. But again, it's very situational as to where you are in life and what your plans for the future are. Hope that answers your question. Here's a good one from Juan Rodriguez. Hey Roman, can you provide some insight onto the whole luxury watch industry in terms of manufacturer all the way to retailers and all the hands in between? It's hard to find information on this subject. It seems to be all on a hush-hush. As a consumer, none of these things are ever really explained. Love the content, great videos, man. Thank you, Juan. You would think that this would be an hour-long answer. It won't. You have a manufacturer. Some manufacturers sell directly to dealers, and when they sell directly to dealers, that means the dealer goes and buys directly from the manufacturer. If you're an authorized dealer, you go in, you buy all your brands. For the most part, average discount on a brand is about 45% off. Rolex is like 37 off. Cartier is also, I think, less than 40 off. Some brands are Keystone, which is 50 off, and some brands go up to 60 off. Some manufacturers have distributors in certain regions, South America, North America, and so on and so forth. The distributor usually gets it at half that. So a regular dealer directly from the manufacturer will get 50 off. If there's a distributor in between, the distributor usually gets the stuff at 75 off, maybe 70 off, and then in turn distributes to other dealers at set discount. The trends are now changing. Actually, manufacturers are trying to get away from the system of authorized dealers that have been loyal to them for years and years and years, and they're opening up their own boutiques, and they're actually cutting into the business of the authorized dealer by creating limited edition boutique pieces and so on and so forth, boutique only items and so on and so forth. The very, very strong brands like Richard Mille or Audemars Piguet, they've been closing doors left and right because they're popular. There's no need for them to give away that 50% or that 45% where they can sell it through their boutiques. Now, that doesn't mean they're making double the money because these boutiques are expensive, usually in very high profile locations around the world where rent itself is just expensive. They put millions of dollars into this boutique, so that additional profit does get eaten up. But at the end of the day, every manufacturer out there would love to have a business model was just to manufacture their own boutiques and their online platforms, and that's it. Of course, that's not the reality because there's just not enough demand from a strictly retail perspective, meaning there's not enough consumers out there to consume all the goods that are being manufactured. So what happens when you have a layer of authorized dealers in between, now you have a bunch of authorized dealers buying up that inventory. It's sort of that guaranteed purchase. And then that inventory gets traded B2B. And that's when the gray market guys come in, like me, because not every authorized dealers can move the amount of pieces in their store by themselves, so then they sell off to guys like us. Usually they do a 10% over cost. So if something costs 45 off, they'll sell it to us at 39.5 off. If you do the math, that's 10% over cost, right? More goods are out of the market. And guys like us trade the stuff between each other, and by the time it ends up being on a consumer's wrist, there's a whole lot of B2B business going on. There's billions of dollars of this inventory sitting in dealers' hands, whether they're authorized dealers, whether they're gray market dealers. And that's what allows the manufacturer to produce the amount of goods that are out there. If at any given time, you put a hard stop on everything that's going on in the watch industry today, and you say, okay, we're not making any more watches. Whatever is out there, let it get sold off. It's going to take a long, long time for everything to end up on a consumer's wrist because of the amount of goods that are out there. And let me not get into the secondhand market. There's so much secondhand goods out there that also fills the market with goods that seemingly, with these Rolex wait lists and so on and so forth, you would think there's just not a whole lot of goods out there. Trust me, there's a lot of goods out there. And the pieces that are being manufactured on a yearly basis from every single major manufacturer, there's not enough consumer demand to consume all of them. And that's why no manufacturer out there is fighting hardcore with gray market dealers, because we are part of their bottom line. The fact that you have gray market dealers that hold 20, 30, $40 million inventories in goods, brand new goods, that's part of their bottom line. And that sort of gives you that quick circle around the watch world without getting into too much information. So I hope that opens up your eyes a little bit. So the next question from Clive Williams, whose questions I've answered before. What's up, Clive? Great show as always, Roman. My question is, are people running out of patience with Rolex? I see lots of YouTube videos showing alternative products to stainless steel sports watches from less popular brands. Do you think Rolex could fall out of favor with the general public who, like myself, are totally disillusioned with the crazy wait lists? Maybe Omega or another direct competitor to Rolex should pounce on the opportunity while the public are feeling unloved by Rolex. As always, thanks in advance. Keep up the great work. Your advice is priceless. Regards, Clive. Well, thanks, Clive. This actually goes hand in hand with the last question I talked about. There's more product being put out by the manufacturer than the actual consumer market can consume, and you have a huge layer in between of authorized dealers, gray market. Well, guess what? There's enough inventory out there. You know, we talk about the Rolex wait list and so on and so forth. Yes, I'm sure they've cut down production a little bit for this hype to happen. For the most part, I've said it before, it's the gray market dealers, the authorized dealers that are solely responsible for this hype. Because look, when the market price on something goes up over double its retail value, I'm an authorized Rolex dealer, I'm sitting on $1 million worth of Rolexes, half of which are very, very hard to sell, and I have to discount to sell. I'm going to try to squeeze every dollar out of it, and I'm going to call Roman and say, that GMT that retails for $8,500, do you want it for $15,500? Sure, I'll take it, and I'll sell it for $16,500 because that's the market today, right? And this is really what's happening. Now, is the public generally upset with Rolex? Yes, but the more you can have something like a Pepsi or a GMT or any steel Rolex, the more coveted it becomes, the more you want it. It's just human nature. I'm the same way. If I can't have something, I want it, and I want it yesterday, and I often overpay for it. I told you guys before, I'm into wine. There were numerous times where I overpaid for a particular bottle of wine just because I wanted that bottle, I couldn't find that bottle. I finally went and got it with the right provenance, and there you go. I overpaid for it. And then what sucks about wine is that you drink it and it's gone, right? As far as Omega or somebody else pouncing at the opportunity, I don't know if these companies necessarily see this as an opportunity because I think they're more envious of the situation with Rolex today more than ever before because of the crazy hype that's going on. Every company out there looks for any opportunity to take over, to sort of become that next Rolex, or sort of step up to Rolex, or at least be anywhere near Rolex. I think what every company is doing right now is taking advantage of just the overall hot watch market, because overall the watch market is hot. It's very hot. And that's what they're taking advantage of. I think they're more concentrated on what they're doing in terms of coming out with certain products, coming out with certain models, squeezing every last dollar out of the market, because now the market is taking those prices. I think the one advantage they can take is to raise their retail prices, much like the Tag Heuer and the Mega themselves. Because if they're seeing the market can withstand paying double retail value for a Rolex GMT, why not pay over $10,000 for a Seamaster that just a few years back was under $5,000, right? This is where I think they're kind of taking advantage. I don't think any company out there is trying to compete with Rolex, and rightfully so. I think the right approach is to be your own company in your own right, to try to promote your products and get your products as sort of that higher, more popular echelon. I mean, at the same token, as a business person, if you're looking from a business perspective, in a hard market, you try to produce more while not overproducing. You try to raise the retail prices to see whether the market will take them or not. And for the most part, the market is taking it. Keep in mind that the prices are inflated because of the gray market, right? So when I say, when this Hublots out there retailing for $26,000, $27,000, not a whole lot of guys out there paying full retail for Hublots. They're getting them at that 30% off mark, per se, right? But at 30% off a $26,000 watch is still almost 20 grand, right? So, the market prices are high. They're the highest they've ever been, and they're going to continue doing so. As far as the public being unloved by Rolex, the public is not unloved by Rolex. Rolex loves their public. They love their clients, and so on and so forth. It's what's going on a secondary market, the gray market, with the authorized dealers, that's making this crazy shortage what it is. Of course, there are individuals, let's say like yourself, who's upset about it, and you're looking at other alternatives. So as far as the YouTube channel showing you other alternatives, YouTube is a huge business all of its own for individuals that have YouTube channels. I didn't start this channel to make money on YouTube, right? I started this channel to be the face of the company, to tell you guys how things are. And really the main reason I started this channel is because I didn't really like a lot of the stuff that was on YouTube to begin with. A lot of these YouTube channels, they're driven to drive traffic to the video, to get hits, to get likes, and to generate ad revenue, right? Video that gets 1 million hits, you're making money from YouTube. So what are you going to talk about? You guys are always giving me compliments that I'm not talking about the same thing over and over, Rolex Sub and Daytonas and so on and so forth, although a lot of your questions are about that. The reason I don't do that is because I'm not looking for likes. I'm not looking for hits. Yes, I am looking to grow my YouTube channel. Obviously, I want a bigger audience, but I'm growing it a lot slower than the next guy because I'm growing it organically. I only want followers that are interested in hearing what I have to say, not those that are Googling, hey, why the steel Rolex is so high, and then so on and so forth. So when you make a YouTube video and you put alternatives to stainless steel Rolex, that's going to get a lot of hits and therefore drive revenue to your YouTube channel. So again, I'm not going to point out any YouTube channels and so on and so forth, but go out in the YouTube space and see how many stainless steel Rolex videos are out there, alternatives to stainless steel Rolex videos. The reason for that is because they drive the hits. It's just like Instagram. If you want to get a lot of likes, what sells? Skin and luxury is what sells, as well, along with a lot of funny memes, right? There's a lot of meme accounts that I follow that are hilarious, right? So if your business is a YouTube channel, if this is your way to generate income, you're not going to talk about DB Thunes. You're not going to talk about Glashutes or IWCs or stuff that's not seemingly as hot. And you're going to talk about the topics that are hot, stainless steel shortages, and so on and so forth. Look at my YouTube channel. I have a video that I made, why is there a stainless steel Rolex shortage? It was at 50,000 views when I had like 3,000 followers, right? Because it hit Google, people searched for that. And I didn't mean for it to do it that way. I'm glad it did. It got me a lot of exposure, but I told it like it is there, right? But that's really, in a nutshell, it. What is the end result? From a marketing perspective, my CMO extremely happy because this is what we call, I guess, brand name recognition, right? A lot of guys have bought from me since I opened up a YouTube channel simply due to the fact that they listen to me on YouTube. So it does also bring some sort of a revenue. For the most part, I enjoy doing this. I like doing this. And I try my best to give you the most unbiased opinion out there. Hope that helps, Clive. Here's a really good question from John Schrader. Roman, as always, love what you're doing and your channel. Thank you. I know that you state that you're not much of a collector, but in your experience with clients who are, when would you say is a good time to let a watch go? When do you find people regret trading something in? Has someone ever bought something back or purchased the same watch multiple times? What are some signs when it's clearly the right choice? Love this question. Give you a quick story. Many, many times I had a new client that would call and say, listen, I'm looking to either condense my collection or trade some things in and so on and so forth, have a pretty big collection, 20 plus watches, What do you suggest? And the reason I'm bringing up this example is because you're talking about a collector, and I would assume that a collector would have at least 5+ watches in his collection, right? This guy's concern was with investment. What's the first thing I told him? I've been saying the same thing for as long as I've been in the business. These watches are not an investment, so let's look at them differently. Send me a spreadsheet of everything you have and make 2 columns. One of the columns, what you paid for the watch. One of the columns, how much wear time this watch gets on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. How much you wear a particular watch, what you're into the watch for, and then make another column into which you can put a star next to a watch that may have sentimental value, that may have maybe just a watch that you really not wear much, but you really like it and you would hate to let it go. Something that's making you hold on to that watch. Maybe it was one of the first watches you bought, and so on and so forth. Guy does all that. I went through the spreadsheet. Luckily, this was around the time when the watch industry was pretty hot. A lot of the stuff is bought actually. He could sell at a profit. A lot of the watches he would take a loss. And I put together a number for him. I said, look, based on everything that you've sent me, these are the watches that you should definitely keep. Some of the watches that I told him not to keep were the ones that he put a star next to that he would like to keep. And I asked him, why do you want to keep that particular watch? Oh, I like it. I think it's a cool watch. And my response was, where you are in the market today, that particular watch actually carries a abnormal profit where you sell it now. If you're not really married to it, if you sell it now, you can make money on this watch to make up for some of the losses on the others. So his next question was, I want to buy nothing but Pateks. I think Pateks are a good investment in the long run. And I said, okay, yes, I agree with you. Patek and Rolex in the long run was probably going to be a good investment. And he got himself into some perpetual calendars, some 5970s at the time, some Nautiluses, which he still has till this day. I got him into Nautiluses. I remember, I think he sold them at 5980 for 34,000, trading close to 100 now. My number one rule of thumb is that if you haven't worn it in 6 months, it's time to get rid of it. Unless, again, it carries some sort of a sentimental value or you have a place for it. And by place for it, I mean pass it on to a kid or relatives, maybe one of your employees as a gift, whatever it might be where it will find a good home. But for the most part, if you're not wearing something and if you haven't worn it in 6 months and you kind of forgot about it sitting in your watch box looking pretty, then it's time to get rid of it. Do I find people regretting trading stuff in or buying something and buying it back? Absolutely. I've had guys that bought the same watch 3 times over. Some of the watch collectors I ran across are very compulsive. They want to buy something, they're hot for something one day, and then 2 weeks later they'll literally give it back and take something else. I've had guys that change watches every other week, and they've taken hits every time they did it because now the watch is used, it's worth less. And then they say, you know what, I shouldn't have traded that in. I'll take that watch back here, take this one, and back and forth. I've had some really nutty watch collectors that would be trading watches like underwear. I mean, every other week or every 2 weeks or so, trade something in, get something else, bring the other one back, take something else, then take the other one that they traded in back because they missed it, and so on and so forth. And that's usually a sign of, I guess, indecisiveness or just wanting to have different stuff all the time. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Everybody's different, to each his own, right? But to be more specific, as you said, and to sort of sum this up, what are some of the signs when it was clearly the right choice? It's when you see that a watch is not getting a lot of wear time, you can actually take a profit on a particular watch that you're not wearing, or maybe wearing seldomly and not particularly in love with. If you can take a 300% profit on the watch and you're looking to purchase more watches, then by all means get rid of it. It is what it is. And last but not least, and this is going back to the money part of it, oftentimes somebody goes out there, buys himself a watch for $10,000 to $20,000, and either the company disappears or just goes in the toilet altogether, and you stand to take a humongous loss, and you just say, you know what, I paid 10 grand for this, I'm being offered $2,000 for it, I'd rather it sit in my watch box. Don't do that. Get rid of it. It doesn't matter the loss you take because it's not going to get any better in the future. Watches have never miraculously revived themselves after going down in value 80%. And believe me, I tell you this from experience. So I hope that answers your question. Well, guys, that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, put your questions below for next episodes. I'll do my best to get to them. Share this video and do all those wonderful things that you do to help my channel grow. You've done a great job, and I say you guys have done a great job because you have spread the words. I finally hit that 10,000 mark. I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to 50,000 subs. Other than that, I'll see you next Tuesday.